Hi, I'm Andrew.
And I'm Dave, and we're the IB English guys. Today we want to talk about some important changes to the IB criteria.
That's right, Mr. Jaws. This is in regards to paper 2. If you are assessing in 2026, these changes apply to you. If you are currently in year 2 of the program, these changes do not apply to you. Please stay with the current descriptors.
That's right. So we want to think about paper 2. What they've done is they've changed the awarding of points, and they've also changed some of the wording of the criteria. So Criterion A. Prior to this, the Criteria A was 10 points. Now it's 5 points, but they've streamlined it.
That's all right, Mr. Jaws. Well, they've given us a really precise descriptor, and it reads as follows. How much knowledge and understanding does the candidate demonstrate of the works in relation to the question? And that's 5 possible marks. What do you notice, Giles?
They're laser pointed on the question itself. You've got to answer that question throughout your writing, and you really have to show that rich understanding. So it's simplified and much more clear.
Yeah, we have some tips to help you with that. So one of the things we want to tell you is definitely when you've selected your question that you want to answer for paper 2, zero in on those key words of that question, because that's where you want to keep your focus. Of course, this helps you for Criterion C, but all of your content ideas, all of your rich knowledge and insight will also be inherently linked to Criterion A if you are focused on the question.
Yeah, you also want to have those rich thematic ideas from your literary text and let that guide your thinking. We want to think about the message that the author is trying to convey about the topic that helps you answer that question.
This guy always tells the students, imagine the author is sitting next to you while you're writing the exam, whispering in your ear. What would they say? That's the message. You want to focus on that.
Lastly, we want to think about implications, nuances and implications. If you're striving to really top out the rubric, we need to think about those things that are, those nuances that are hidden between the lines.
Yeah, those nuances and implications are easier said than done, Mr. Jaws. We want to offer you some sentence stems that we often see as examiners that we really feel indicate insight. Why don't you take a crack at it?
Yeah, the author implies that. So when we're talking about the implications, we're using the verb implies.
Yeah, and that word that is going to force you to construct some sort of sophisticated argument. You could also go with, while not stated, the author hints that, ... Complete that sentence. Say something nuanced and insightful.
Yeah, and lastly, you can talk about the readers making an inference. Readers can infer that. We know that when we make an inference, we're reading between the lines. That's what we want to look for. That shows rich, deep thinking.
Mr. Giles, there have also been some changes to Criterion B for kids assessing in 2026. What can we talk about here?
Yeah, they've got 2 sub-criteria that are under the umbrella of Criterion B, and that is analysis and evaluation. We're thinking about that deep, rich thinking and that critical thinking. Criteria B1 is about the analysis and evaluation of textual features. We're looking for those literary features and authorial choices.
That's right. They've given us a really clear B1 descriptor, which reads as follows. To what extent does the candidate analyze and evaluate how meaning is shaped by the choices of language, techniques, and style, and or broader authorial choices? Pretty meaty descriptor, Giles. What do we need to think about?
Yeah, we think about if you looked at our videos, we label these in yellow, we highlight these in yellow. We're thinking about identifying and labeling those literary features, but also we're analyzing and evaluate them. We're unpacking them about how they shape meaning.
That's right. Now, the accuracy of those features is actually scored in Criterion D, but we want to have those rich features for Criterion B1 because we need to discuss them. We need to evaluate and analyze those. Jaws, tell me about range.
Yeah, we need to have a range of features. We're not going to be talking about the same feature over and over again. We think about a range of features. We also talk about broad authorial choices. So that's something to pay attention to.
Yeah, we also have Criterion B2, which is the other 5 points within this 10-point criteria. And it looks like Criterion B2 is precisely and specifically about comparative analysis.
Yeah. How effectively does the candidate analyze similarities and or differences? There's an and or there.
There's an and or, and there's a couple things we want to think about here. Now, we have the comparative aspect all in this descriptor, so that means ideas and authorial choices. We can go after either of those, Giles.
Yeah, I like that. And that's exactly what we want to do. Of course, we want to compare characters and big ideas, but we also want to compare craft.
Let's look at a couple examples, then we'll call it a day. Let's look at this sentence here, looking at a comparative sentence, looking at a doll's house and a streetcar named Desire. Why don't you read it aloud, Giles?
While Henrik Ibsen uses stage directions to enhance the thematic idea of personal liberation in A Doll's House, Tennessee Williams employs lighting contrast to achieve a similar effect in A Streetcar Named Desire, highlighting the characters' struggles with their identities and desires.
That's great, Mr. Jaws. Looking at the highlighting protocol, of course, in orange, we see the 2 authors, so we know there's no overt comparison being there. We also see the comparative language with while and similar effects, so we know there's some compare and contrast going on. Tell me more.
It's got some rich ideas. We're thinking about personal liberation. We're also thinking about the struggle for identity. So there's some very rich ideas, and this is a comparative sentence.
Yeah, but the how they do it, we can see that in yellow. Looking at those authorial choices, we see stage directions being overtly contrasted with lighting. So that's a pretty good example there.
Yeah.
Let's look at one more.
One more.
In contrast to Ibsen, who gradually reveals Nora's disillusionment through her evolving dialogue with Torvald, Williams opts for abrupt shifts in mood and music to depict Blanche's fluctuating grasp on reality. That's a good sentence.
That's a really good. And it's just, both of these sentences start with that comparative phrase. So we're automatically in that comparative mode. The author's in the driver's seat, who's like revealing Nora's disillusionment. And then Williams is also in the driver's seat.
Yeah,
I love that.
Again, we have rich ideas highlighted in pink, and we have those authorial choices in yellow, folks. So please.
Yeah, in the end, I think we don't need to have great alarm and all these, dramatic changes. They're trying to streamline the criterion, they're trying to simplify things. But I think just understanding what's being asked, it's the same task. It's just we're splitting things up and making the assessment and the evaluation easier.
Just remember, in closing, if you're assessing in 2025, none of this matters for you. These are for kids assessing in 2026. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay with the channel, and we'll lead you to IB success.
Thanks, guys.